Would you kick it back to its owner or pick it up and throw it back? If you were walking across a park and a ball rolled your way, would you kick it back to its owner or would you pick it up and throw it back? If I were
If
walking
I were walking
across a park
across a park
and a ball rolled
and
my
a
way,
ball rolled away,
rolled my way,
ball
rolled
rolled my
my
way,
way, I'd
I pick it up
and
and
throw it
throw
back
it back
to its owner.
to its owner.
Very good. Okay, next. Okay, so what's a bread roll? What's a bread roll? A bread roll
A bread roll
is a
is a
piece of
piece
bread
of bread
that has a round
that
shape
has a round
and
shape
is made
and
for one
uh,
person and is
uh, and,
made
and is made
for
for one
one
person
person to eat.
to eat.
Very good. Okay, what am I doing? What am I doing? You're rolling
You
a
are
piece
rolling
of paper
a piece of
in your
paper
hand.
in your
And
hand.
so what's this? What's this? It's a roll of
It's a
paper.
roll of paper.
Very good. Okay. What's the difference between a teacup and a cup of tea? What's the difference between a teacup and a cup of tea? The difference
The
between
difference
a
between
teacup
tea
and a
cup
cup of
and
tea
a cup of tea
is that a
is that
teacup is
teacup
a
is
cup
a
for
cup
tea,
for tea,
whereas a cup
whereas
of tea
cup of tea
is a cup
is a
with
cup
tea in it.
with tea in it.
Wait, what's the difference between a matchbox and a box of matches? What's the difference between a matchbox and a box of matches? The difference
The
between
difference
a
between
matchbox and a
matchbox
box
and
of
box
matches
of matches
is that a
is that
matchbox is
matchbox
a
is a
box for
box
matches,
for matches,
whereas a
whereas
box of
a box
matches
of
is
matches
a
is a
box with
box
matches in
with
it.
matches in it.
Very good. Is a girl male or female? Is a girl male or female? A girl
A
is
girl is a
female.
female.
Who's your favorite male film star? Who's your favorite male film star? My favorite
My
male
favorite
film star,
favorite
male film star
male film star
is.
is Tom Cruise.
Who's your favorite female film star? Who's your favorite female film star? My favorite
My
female
favorite
film
female
star
film star
is
is Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie. Very good. In the animal world, which usually is more colorful, the male or the female? In the animal world, which is usually more colorful, the male or the female? In the animal
In the
world,
animal
the
world,
male is
the male
usually
is
more
usually
colorful.
more colorful.
Very good. What do you think is the best way to deal with bad children? What do you think is the best way to deal with bad children? I think the
I
best
think the
way
best
to
way
deal
to
with
deal
bad
with
children
bad
is
children
to.
is to be careful.
Yeah, very good. Which would you say was more profitable in business? To deal in cars or to deal in food? Which would you say was more profitable in business? To deal in cars or to deal in food? I'd say that
I
it
say
was
that
more
it was
profitable
more profitable
in business to
in
deal
business
in
to build
cars or
in
food.
food
Food.
business,
Wait, why? Why? Because
because we have to eat.
yeah, everybody eat, right? Very good.
Everybody need food.
Very good. Okay, next. Can you tell me the name of one of your local car dealers? Can you tell me the name of one of your local car dealers? Yes, I can tell
Yes,
you
I
the
can
name
tell you
of one
of one
of our local
of
car
our
dealers.
local car dealers
Which one? Toyota.
is Toyota.
Very good. What do we call the person who deals the cards in a game of poker? What do we call the person who deals the cards in a game of poker? We call the person
We call the
who
person
deals the
who
cards
deals the
in a
card
game of
in
poker.
in
In a game of
in a
poker.
game of poker.
The dealer
The
or
dealer
the
or
banker?
banker.
Very good. What do we mean when we say we make a deal with someone? What do we mean when we say we make a deal with someone? When we say
When
we
we
make a
say
deal
we
with
make a
someone,
deal with
we
someone,
mean we
we mean
agree
we
to give
agree
someone
to give
something
us someone
in
something
return for
in
something
return for
they
something
will give
they
us,
will be
or
give
to
us,
do
or
something
to do
for
something
someone
for
in
someone
return for something
to return for something
they will do for us.
they will do for us.
Very good. What do the words also mean? What do the words also mean? The words
The
also
word
mean
also means
about.
about.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. There were
The
35
word
people
the
or
uh,
so
there,
there were
there
35
were
people
35
or
people
so at the
or
party.
so at the party.
Very good. Do you think you could run a large factory, or don't you think you could run a small coffee shop? Do you think you could run a large factory, or don't you think you could run a small coffee shop? I think I could
I
run
think I
a,
could
a
run
large
a,
factory.
a large factory
Very good.
and
And
even
even
run
a small
a,
coffee shop.
a small coffee shop.
Very good. Okay, next. What words can we use when we want to emphasize the person who does the action in a particular sentence? What words can we use when we want to emphasize the person who does the action in a particular sentence? When we want to
When we want
emphasize
to
the person
emphasize a
who
person
does the action
who does the
in a
action
particular
in a
sentence,
particular
we
sentence,
can use
we
myself,
can use the myself,
yourself,
yourself,
himself,
himself,
etc.
etc.
What do we call these words? What do we call these words? We call these
We
words
call this word
emphasizing pronouns.
emphasizing the pronouns.
Where could give me three sentences containing emphasizing pronouns. Give me three sentences containing emphasizing pronouns, please. I remember it
I
very
remember it
clearly
very clearly
because I give him
because
the
I give
money
him the
myself.
month myself.
People cannot usually people
People
cannot
cannot usually
usually repair laptops
repair laptops
themselves. They
themselves.
have to take
They
them
have to they
take
have
them
to
a
take them
computer
a
repair
computer
center.
repair center.
He always drove one
It's
more,
always grow
the car herself.
the car herself.
Very good. Does someone else usually make breakfast for you, or do you make it yourself? Does someone else usually make breakfast for you, or do you make it yourself? Someone
Uh,
else. I usually
I usually
make breakfast myself.
make breakfast myself.
Very good. Okay. What's the difference between these two sentences? He painted the house himself and he painted the house by himself. What's the difference between these two sentences? He painted the house himself and he painted the house by himself. The difference
The
between
difference between
those two sentences
those two
is
sentences
that the first
is that
sentence
first
emphasizes
sentence
the
emphasizing
fact that
the fact
he
that
painted the house,
he painted the house,
not someone else.
not to someone else.
Whereas the second
Whereas
sentence
the second
means
sentence
he
means
painted the
he
house
painted the
alone,
house uh,
without alone,
alone
without any help.
without any help.
Very good. Does this door shut by itself? Does this door shut by itself? Yes or no?
No,
That door
that
doesn't
door
shut by
doesn't
itself.
shut but
By
by itself.
itself. Very good. Do students answer questions in these lessons by themselves? Do students answer questions in these lessons by themselves? No.
No,
Students
the
don't answer
students don't
questions
answer the
in
questions
these
in
lessons
these
by
lessons by
themselves. The
themselves.
teacher helps
The
them to
teacher
answer.
helps them answer
To answer.
to answer.
Very good. Have you ever been anywhere in the world that was so hot that you couldn't stand the heat? Have you ever been anywhere in the world that was so hot that you couldn't stand the heat? Yes or no?
Yes,
I've been
I've
somewhere in
been
the world
somewhere in the world
that was so hot
that was so
that
hot
I couldn't
that
stand the
I
heat.
couldn't stand
The heat.
the heat.
Very good. Give me an example of something that you can't stand. Give me an example of something that you can't stand, please. I can't stand
I can stand the heat.
in summer. Very good. What does the idiom get a move on mean? What does the idiom get a move on mean? The idiom
The idiom
get a move on
get or
means
move on means
hurry.
hurry.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. If you get a move on,
If you get or
you might.
get
One more.
if
If
you
you
get
get
move
a
on,
move on, you
if
might
you get a
finish
move on,
that
you might
job
finish the job
by the end of the
by
day.
the end of the day.
Very good. Okay, next. Are there any mountains in your country where snow settles on the top even in the middle of summer? Are there any mountains in your country where snow settles on the top even in the middle of summer? Yes or no?
Yes,
There are some
there are
mountains
some
in my
mountains
country
in my
where
country
snow
where
settles.
snow settle
One more. Where snow
where
settles
snow settles
on the top
on the top
even in the middle of
even in
summer.
the middle of summer.
Where? In Mount Fuji.
In Mount Fuji,
Very good. Would you be surprised if you were walking across a park and a bird came and settled on your shoulder? Would you be surprised if you were walking across a park and a bird came and settled on your shoulder? Yes or no?
Yes.
I'd be surprised
I'd be
if
surprised
I were walking
if I were
across a
walking
park
across a park
and a bird
and
came
one came
and settled
and
on my
settled
shoulder.
on my shoulder.
Regid, would you find it difficult to settle in a foreign country forever? Would you find it difficult to settle in a foreign country forever? Yes or no?
Yes.
I'd find it difficult
I'd find it
to
physical
settle in a
to
foreign
settle in
country
a foreign
forever.
country, however,
Why? Why?
because because um,
Because
uh,
the culture is different.
yes, I
Yeah.
like Japan.
Very good. Because you like Japan. That's correct. Next, if you couldn't settle your bill in a restaurant because you didn't have enough money with you, what would you do? If you couldn't settle your bill in a restaurant because you didn't have enough money with you, what will you do? If I couldn't
If
settle
I
my
couldn't settle
bill in a
my
restaurant
bill in the restaurant
because I didn't have
because I didn't
enough
have
money with me,
enough money with me,
I'd.
I use credit card.
Very good. Okay. When you add sugar to a cup of coffee, what happens if you don't stir it? If you add sugar to a cup of coffee, what happens if you don't stir it? When you add
When you
sugar
add sugar
to a cup of coffee
to a cup of coffee
and don't stir it,
and don't stir
the
it,
sugar
the
settles
sugar
to the
settle
bottom of the
the
cup.
bottom of a cup.
If two countries can't settle a political problem, where do they go in order to settle it? If two countries can't settle a political problem, where do they go in order to settle it? If two countries
If two
can't
countries
settle a
can't
political
settle
problem,
our political
they
problems,
go to the
they go
United
to
Nations
United
in
Nations
order to settle
in
it.
order to settle it.
Very good. What does a teacher say to pupils when they are making too much noise? What does a teacher say to pupils when they are making too much noise? A teacher says,
A teacher
"Come
says,
on now.
from honor,
Come on now.
come on now,
Settle down." To
settle down.
pupils
Two pupils
when they are making
and they are
too
making
much
too
noise.
much noise.
Well, if someone said that they were planning to go on holiday but nothing had been settled yet, what would they mean? If someone said that they were planning to go on holiday but that nothing had been settled yet, what would they mean? If someone said
If
that
someone
they
says
were
that
planning
they were
to
planning
go on holiday
to go on
but
holiday,
that nothing
but that nothing
had been settled yet,
had been settled
they
yet,
would mean
they would
that they
mean
had not
that
made
they have not
had not made
have not made
any final
any
decisions yet.
final decisions
Yet,
yet.
very good. What do we mean by unsettled weather? What do we mean by unsettled weather? By unsettled
By
weather,
a settled
we
weather,
mean weather
we mean a
that's
weather
constantly
that
changing.
constantly changing.
Very good. Would you say that success in life was partly a question of luck? Would you say that success in life was partly a question of luck? Yes or no?
Yes,
I'd say that
I'd say
success in life
that success in life
was partly a
was
question of
partly a
luck.
question of luck.
Very good. Do soldiers have to be extremely brave when they go into battle? Do soldiers have to be extremely brave when they go into battle? Yes,
Yes,
soldiers have
soldiers
to be
have to be
extremely brave
extremely brave
when they go into
when they
battle.
go on into battle.
So very good. What does it mean to be tidy? What does it mean to be tidy? To be tidy
To
means
be tidy
to keep
means
things
to keep
in their
things
proper
in
place.
the couple place,
Proper place.
proper place.
Very good. Are you a tidy person? Are you a tidy person? Yes or no?
No,
I'm not a
I'm
tidy
not
person.
tidy person.
Very good. Okay. Is it often difficult for parents to get their children to tidy their rooms? Is it often difficult for parents to get their children to tidy their rooms? Yes, it's
Yes,
often difficult
it's often
for
difficult
parents
for
to
parents
get their
to
children
get their children
to tidy their
to
rooms.
tidy a room.
Their room.
To tidy their room.
Very good. Have you ever acted on the stage in this theater? Have you ever acted on the stage in a theater? Yes or no?
No,
I've never acted
never acted
on the stage
on the
in the
stage
theater.
in the theater.
Regid, would you be afraid to act on the stage? Would you be afraid to act on the stage? Yes or no?
Yes,
I'd be
I would,
afraid
I be afraid
To act on the
to
stage.
act on the stage.
Wait, at what stage of your English studies would are you at the moment? Beginner, intermediate, or advanced? At what stage of your English studies are you at the moment? Beginner, intermediate, or advanced? I'm at an
I'm actor
intermediate stage
into immediate stage
of my English
of
studies
my English
at
studies
the moment.
at the moment.
At what stage of a man's life does his hair begin to drop out? At what stage of a man's life does his hair begin to drop out? A man's hair
A month,
can
a
begin.
month,
A man's hair
a month here
can begin to
can
drop
begin
out
to drop
at
out
any
at
stage
any
in his
stage
life. It
in his life.
depends
It depends
on the individual.
on the individual.
Very good. What is a stream? What is stream? A stream
A
is a
stream
small
is
river.
a small river.
If you followed the river upstream, where would it eventually lead you to? If you followed the river upstream, where would it eventually lead you to? If you followed
If you
a
followed the
river
river
upstream,
upstream,
it would eventually
it will
lead you
eventually
to the mountains
lead you to the mountain
or hills.
or hills.
Very good. And if you followed it downstream, where would it eventually lead you to? And if you followed it downstream, where would it eventually lead you to? If you followed it
If you followed
downstream,
it the
it
downstream,
would eventually
it will
lead
eventually
you to the
lead
sea
you to the sea
or a
or
lake.
a lake.
Very good. If you saw a stream of people streaming out of a building in a hurry, what did you think? If you saw a stream of people streaming out of a building in a hurry, what did you think? If I saw
If I
a
saw
straw,
a
a
storm,
stream of people
a storm of people
streaming out of a
streaming out
building
of
in
a
a hurry,
building in a
I'd
hurry,
think that
I'd think that
either the
I'd s-
building
either the building
was on fire
was on
or
fire
that the
or
people
that people
had just finished work.
had just finished work.
Very good. What are the two types of relative clauses? What are the two types of relative clauses? The two
The
types
two
of
types
relative
of
clauses
relative
are
clauses
defining
are
clauses
defining clauses
and
and
non-defining
in
clauses.
non-defining relative clauses.
Very good. What's the difference between a defining relative clause and a non-defining relative clause? What's the difference between a defining relative clause and a non-defining relative clause? The difference
The difference
between a
between
defining
a
relative
defining
clause
relative clause
and a
and
non-defining
non-defining
relative
relative
clause is that a
is that
defining
a
relative
defining
clause
relative clause
identifies which
identifies
person
the
or
which
thing
person
we
or
are
things
talking about,
we are talking about,
whereas a
whereas
non-defining
an
relative
undefining
clause
relative clause
simply gives us
simply gives
extra
us
information
extra information
about them.
about them.
Give me an example of a sentence containing a defining relative clause. Give me an example of a sentence containing a defining relative clause, please. The milk that
The
we
milk
bought
that we bought
this morning
this morning
is in the fridge.
is in the fridge.
Greg, give me an example of a sentence containing a non-defining relative clause. Give me an example of a sentence containing a non-defining relative clause, please. My new glasses,
My new
which
dresses,
I bought
which
yesterday,
I bought yesterday,
are really expensive.
are really expensive.
Greg, how is a non-defining clause separated from the main part of the sentence? How is a non-defining clause separated from the main part of the sentence? A non-defining clause
Non-defining clause
is separated
is
from the
separated
main part
by
from the
from main
main
part
part of a sentence
of the sentence
by commas.
by commas.
Very good. Okay. When can we use the relative pronoun that instead of who or which? When can we use the relative pronoun that instead of who or which? We can use
We can
the
use
relative
the
pronoun
relative pronouns
that
that
instead of who or
instead
which.
of which,
Who or which
who or which
in defining
in
clauses.
defining
We
clauses.
cannot use that
We cannot use
in
that
non-defining
in
clauses.
non-defining clauses.
Greg, give me an example. Give me an example, please. The biscuits
The
that
biscuits
I ate
that I
were
ate
very tasty.
were very tasty.
Okay, correct the mistake in this sentence, please. London, that is the capital of England, is very big. Correct the mistake in this sentence, please. London, that is the capital of England, is a big city. London.
The
which
London,
is the
which
capital
is the capital
of England,
of
is
England,
a big city.
is a big city.
Very good. Okay, what does the idiom for good mean? What does the idiom for good mean? The idiom
The
for good
idiom for
means
good means
forever.
forever.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. They're such a
The
perfect
such
couple.
a couple
Perfect
couple
couple.
a perfect couple.
One more. They're such a
They are
perfect
such a
couple.
perfect couple.
I'm sure they'll
I'm
stay
sure
together
they to take
for
together
good.
for good.
Very good. What am I doing? What am I doing? You're waving
You
your
are
hand.
waving your hand.
What happens to the branch of a tree when it waves too much in the wind? What happens to the branch of a tree if it waves too much in the wind? When the branch of a
When the
tree
branch of a tree
waves too much
wave too
in the
much
wind,
in the
it
wind,
breaks and
it
falls
breaks
to the ground.
and falls
To the ground.
to ground
To the ground.
to the ground.
Very good. One more. When the branch of a
When the branch
tree
of a
waves
tree
too
waves
much in the wind,
too much in the
it
wind,
breaks
it
and
breaks
falls
and
to the
falls
ground.
down, fall to the ground.
Very good. On what occasions do we wave our hands? On what occasions do we wave our hands? We wave our
We
hands
wave our
when
hand
we say goodbye
when we say goodbye
to someone
to
or when
someone.
we want
Well, when
somebody.
we
We want somebody
when we somebody
when we want somebody
when we want somebody
to notice us
to notice us
from a distance.
from a distance.
Where it, is it a pleasure to travel by boat when the waves of the sea is very high? Is it pleasant to travel by boat when the waves of the sea is very high? No,
No,
it isn't pleasant
it isn't
to
pleasant
travel by boat
to travel by boat
when the waves of the
when the
sea
wind of the sea
are very high.
are very high,
Why not? Why not? Because it can be
because
dangerous.
it can be dangerous.
Reggie, do you prefer wavy hair rather than straight hair? Do you prefer wavy hair rather than straight hair? Yes or no?
Yes,
I prefer
I prefer
wavy
a
hair
wave of hair
rather than straight hair.
rather than straight hair.
Very good. What do you recommend that people do in order to succeed in life? What do you recommend that people do in order to succeed in life? I recommend
I
that
recommend
people
that
work
people
hard
work hard
in order to
in
succeed
order
in
to
life.
succeed in life.
Right, which film would you recommend seeing at the cinema at the moment? Which film would you recommend seeing at the cinema at the moment? I'd recommend
I
seeing
recommend seeing, see,何があ
what?
るかな。
Top Gun?
トップガントップ
What?
トップガン
Hookland at the moment.
at the moment.
Very good. Okay, next. If someone said they wanted a quiet holiday, which part of your country would you recommend to them? If someone said they wanted a quiet holiday, which part of your country would you recommend to them? Okay, so we stop there for today.
Oh,
But
okay. Thank you
very
very
good
much.